In this episode of the Beamable Game Dev Podcast, I sit down with Mattlekim, who's not only a game dev, but has also begun dabbling in game publishing. Let's jump into the interview. I'm here today with Mattlekim, game dev extraordinaire, now becoming a publisher, at least for friends. I feel like we're seeing the early stages of of your empire beginning. How are you today?
I'm not bad, thank you, and thanks for having us on.
Yeah, of course. Of course. We're going to be talking about a handful of games that you've put out, now games that you're publishing, and just kind of take a deep dive into what it's like being a game dev. But before we do, what are some of your favorite classic games? What inspired you from a young age?
Ooh, wow. Nintendo, the SNES or the Super Nintendo, definitely. I remember wanting one of those for years. And then when I actually got mine, it was as the PlayStation was coming out, but I didn't care. And the original Mario World, I think, was one of my favorite, and Mario 3. I had the Mario All Stars ROM for the Super Nintendo, and it had a load of them on. So, yeah, those particularly I enjoyed. Platformers, that type of thing.
Love it. Love it. I was just in a retro game store this weekend, and they had a SNES. They also had the Famicom with
Yeah.
a bunch of games, like a bunch of games. And they didn't. The only way I could get the Mario Kart cartridge is if I bought the Famicom. They wouldn't just sell me just the Mario Kart, which is what I wanted for my collection. So I may have to I may have to go back up there, and who knows, maybe I'll clean them out and just get all the I can't do anything with it, it'll just have to sit on
Yeah.
the shelf and be a collector's item, but it was just cool seeing the different artwork that's on those carts. So but yeah,
The
so
boxes
super.
and the manuals back then were awesome. I
Oh, they
miss the
really
manuals.
were. Yes.
If only
Yes,
we had manuals about that.
I actually purchased a 1989 Game Boy still in the box, and it still had the manuals while I was in the store that day. So,
Cool.
and the screen is immaculate on it. So that was pretty cool to come across that. But so Super Mario World. Any other SNES games that really stuck out for you?
Donkey Kong Country. That
Of
was another one.
course.
The original one, the bit with the minecart as well. That were awesome. Of course, Mario Kart. Where would anybody be without that?
Right, right.
They were like my central ones that I played the most. Just never could never get bored of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So transition a little bit. You've released a handful of games, right?
Yeah,
Kind of take us down the list of the games you've released and where people might be able to find them.
well, it all started in 2008 when I got an Xbox and I just started tinkering, and there was Xbox Live Indie Games, which was something you could make games for. And I made my very first game for that called The Gravity Effect. And then from there, back then, my coding was okay. My artwork was garbage because it can't draw for toffee. So the game looked terrible, but it played okay. Then I made a Robots Conundrum, which was a puzzle game, which was based on a really old game I used to play for my Master System, which is going back even before the SNES, which was called Penguin Land, and it's a very unknown game. And the whole objective was you had to get this cargo, or in this case of the Penguin Land, an egg from the top of the level to the bottom. And I based an entire game on that and modernized it and had fun with that. Then I made a game called Bush Hunt, which was a zoologist going back to capture animals that had escaped from a zoo and tranquilizing them and stuff like that. So I've done a fair few things. And then I made a game called Old School Racer, which again was on Xbox, and that did quite well. And then I made a second one, and then I started working on the Nintendo Switch, and I brought the second one over to the Switch, which sold okay. And then I'm working on this game that's currently you can see behind me called Fly Johnny Fly, which is basically about a crash test dummy that you have to get from one end of the level to the other. You have to get him across without breaking him, and you've only got explosives to do it. So, quite cool. or attempts to be.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I kind of want to do I want to know a little bit about the process, right? Like you mentioned taking inspiration from an older Master System game like for Fly Johnny Fly. Where'd the inspiration come from? How do you come up with that idea?
Um, the way that I've always done it is I've had a basic idea and I'll very quickly knock up a prototype of a game. So I can't, I'm trying to remember, like Fly Johnny Fly, I came up with the idea a long time ago now, but it was very basically just getting to the other end of the level because I was thinking ragdoll physics are always quite interesting to watch. And on Old School Racer, when I built that, when you crash the bike and the guy flies off, you can see all his arms and everything spinning as he's flying through the air. And I thought it'd be really cool if you could make a game just based on that one mechanic. And that's where the basic idea came from.
So you actually took inspiration from one of your other games, which I mean
Yeah.
that's amazing. I love hearing that. So how about Old School Racer? That's one I've played. I played the sequel to it anyway. Like where'd the inspiration for that come from?
Interestingly, from a Flash game. When I was at college, there was the motocross Flash game. I can't remember now what it was actually called, but you had to get up really steep hills and try and survive. And it came from there. And again, I made a prototype, and I'd made a couple of games before, and none of them had done particularly well. And I remember this prototype I made. A friend of mine, he used to help me test all the games. And like we'd literally got this very terribly looking level and the bike physics, and we spent about an hour just playing the same level, trying to beat each other's times, and we found it really addictive. So we kind of realized that we had a good thing going there. So then I made a couple more levels, and then I think we had some people round, and I'm like, "Oh, I'll show you this." And out of all the people that came round, all they wanted to do was play that to try and beat each other's high scores. So it made me realize I've actually got something that's quite fun.
That's so great to hear. I I want to know about the process of the prototype. Like what's that like? Because I know there's going to be there's devs of all levels that will listen to this, right? You'll have some that have been in the game a long time, and some that are aspiring to become a game dev. Like when you say create a prototype, like can you kind of break that process down a little bit?
Well, yeah. See, when I started for the Xbox, there was no gaming engines. It was all based in something called XNA. All that was a programming language that allowed you to draw sprites on screen and backdrops and whatnot. So for the first game, it was literally just adding some platforms and seeing what I could do. But I reused my code quite a lot. So like by the time Old School Racer came around, I already had a basic physics engine and everything working. So I could quite quickly just chuck in some platforms because I'd built my own level editor, a bit like the Unity one, although a lot simpler. So it was a case of right, I want to make a bike, and I think I spent about a day or two just adding the wheels to the bike and very simple sprites, basically just drawing in paint, and looked absolutely shocking. But once you had that, you set your end goal, you set your beginning goal, and you see if you can get there, and then uh, rapid prototyping, you very quickly you add something, you go, I don't like that, so you get rid of it or you tweak something. And within like 2 weeks, what you started with looks nothing like what you finished with because all the ideas you had, half of them don't work. And then the other half that did get expanded on because when you're playing it, you think, oh, it'd be good if we could do that. Um, in fact, rapid prototyping and developing your game that way is a way of developing games, and it works well. But the problem is for like most publishers, it's not very cost effective. Although you get a good product in the end because you've got your ideas evolve as you go along. You've not got one set goal. You're aiming to make the best game possible, and that works quite well when you're rapidly prototyping and building new versions. But it's not the most efficient use of time, should we say? Because you end up scrapping a lot of ideas, and your game you never know how big it's going to be before until you finish it.
When you knew you had kind of, like caught lightning in the bottle with the racer game, it just slipped my mind. Uh, what? Tell me the name of it again.
Old School Racer.
Old school racer, yeah. Like just there had to have been a level of excitement and getting ready to, show this game off again. Like,
Yeah.
did you keep bringing friends over to just, test out new
Well,
versions and
yeah, especially my best mate at the time. Like he was often like playing it, and I wanted leaderboards because to me, like leaderboards is interesting. You know, like if you've got a time to beat. But we had limitations on Xbox. Microsoft wouldn't allow you to have access to their leaderboard, so you had to basically cobble together some code that would just randomly connect with other Xboxes, like you were hosting a session all in the background, and share codes with them, share scores with them. So it was a half-baked code level sharing of high scores. Um, but when once I've got all that working and we could compete with each other's times, you found like just people who'd already played it, they're like, oh, let's see if I can get a bit faster, or how fast can you go? So it was all very exciting, and I love watching people play the games that I've spent time on. I could spend hours just watching people play. But the highlight was in the official Xbox magazine, Xbox 360 magazine. My game had a page on the back cover for the indie games of one of the indie games not to miss. And I actually got in the official Xbox magazine.
congrats on that. That's amazing. That's so cool to hear. So, oftentimes when people look at game dev, they think this is a massive undertaking, right? I mean, you were talking about getting in there into paint and drawing quick wheels for your bike, and you know what kept you going? Because there had to have been moments where you were like, "There's just so much here." Like, what is it? Is it a process of just starting very small? Did you do anything like a game jam? Kind of just take us through that process of even getting into development.
Well, I enjoy programming. I find it. I just enjoy it. It's like a puzzle. Like some people enjoy like crosswords and whatnot, and I just enjoy making things out of code, and like especially if it's a bit tricky and solving problems and workarounds and stuff like that. So I get enjoyment out of that. And then it's just never necessarily thinking about just how much work's involved because you'd never do it. It's taking it step by step by step, just little bits of progress. And if you can, splitting out and getting different members on board. So, like, I got an artist on board for me because my art wasn't very good anyway, and that meant he could work on the art. And then when he brings a new piece of art, that gives you then extra motivation to want to implement it or to make your coding better because his art pushes you and so on and so forth. So it definitely helps if you can have at least one other person with you. Well, not necessarily together, but you know what I mean, collaborating on the project.
Right. And I mean, that's going to mean potentially like sound effects, music, artwork. Did you find yourself doing a lot of the music and sound effects yourself, or do you have somebody, that you work with?
Music and sound effects, it's really quite easy to find decent royalty-free music and sound effects. There's quite a couple of people out there that you can actually have websites full of it. It just takes a lot of time to sift through it all to find something that matches your game. But art is one of those things that you need something unique because that's the thing people see, and if they see it's reused art from somewhere else, they don't really take you seriously. So that's one thing I've learned. You need good art because it's the eye candy that attach brings people to buy your game. Without the eye candy, they don't give it a second look, no matter how good it is.
Gotcha. So let's let's change direction a little bit here. You've started doing a little bit of publishing, right? Helping some friends get games on the Switch. What's that process like?
Um, Quite interesting actually. It's quite a bit easier than making your own because, of course, you don't have to spend years or months or whatever making it. But I've got a friend who used to program way back for the Atari. He used to enjoy programming for that. And he's never done anything professionally. He's only self-taught. But just by having basic conversations with him, I could tell he was incredibly intelligent when it came to programming, like even more than me, just different level. So anyway, I told him that if he made the game in Unity, I could publish it on Switch. So he'd never used Unity before, and he just decided to take it upon himself to learn it. And he's learnt himself Unity, he's built himself a game, and it took him about a year from scratch of not doing Unity to actually finishing his game. But unlike me, he can do art. So he's done all the art, all the music, all the sound effects himself, which must have taken him forever. And then it just came over to me. So from the publishing side, it all depends on where you're publishing it. Nintendo have their own set of rules and procedures that they go through, just like Microsoft did at Xbox. The biggest hurdle is actually getting the game running on the Switch, and that's the one thing I had to do because I had the dev kit. So I took his code in Unity and spent a couple of days just making sure it actually ran on the Switch and ran well. And then entering all the information in the website, release dates, sale prices, etc., and just getting through it like that. Lots of tedious information entering.
And so this game's called Drone Ridge.
Yep.
And it's out now. What's the process like for I mean, I know you're early on in this. This is kind of a new venture for you. How's the marketing and trying to get the game out there? Like what are some of the things that you guys have done?
Contacted lots of people. I've come to the conclusion that streamers and actual podcasters are generally better because the audience that were listening to them, especially if you can get them in the same type of area, are more interested in what you're providing versus like general gaming websites which cater to lots of things. So we did a different code giveaways, contacted different people, posted trailers, found podcasters, but it's more than just contacting them. You've got to learn them and to get to know them, because who are you to them? So like, I mean, I like games anyway. So like a lot of the podcasts that I've contacted, I've been listening to for years. So you can go, oh, I've got this game for you, and I know you like this, and this, and when you put in personal details that you can pick up over years of listening, you generally get a much better response than just some random guy saying, "Hey, review my game" or "do this." So that's what I found anyway.
I was just going back to the beginning of our Discord messages because this is exactly what you did with me with my other show. You were like, yo, I listened. I think you were in a stream we were talking about, and I was like, hey, let's get you on the podcast, you know? And so it's great to hear that like you're continuing that and really taking that knowledge and helping friends. And I mean, do you see, like I said at the beginning, is this the beginning of the Mattlekim empire? Like, do you foresee becoming possibly publishing for more people?
I would like anything to do with games development, or I would enjoy to do as a full-time job. Just the freedom that it gives, and also to have a job that you enjoy. Not that many people can say they've got a job that they truly enjoy, and if you do, I think you're privileged. So I'm not after being rich or anything like that, but to earn enough to do something I enjoy, I'd be very happy with that.
Incredible. I love it. Now, you've got Fly Johnny Fly behind you. We've talked a little bit about it, but it is coming out soon. Do you have a date?
Not yet, no. I've still got some bugs to fix, and then the Nintendo process to get on Switch is long-winded. It's convoluted and long-winded. Let's leave it at
that. Will you be releasing anywhere else?
Not initially, no. You see, the idea was from several years ago, and I made a simplified version for Windows Phone going back 2000 and let me get this right. Time has passed. About 2012, I made when Windows Phone first came out, I made a simplified version of it. And funnily enough, Microsoft took note of that version, and because of that, gave me some funding to make Old School Racer 2. So it's based on that, but unlike the phone version, which was very mobile orientated, this is like full console mode. with everything, because I don't like just somebody getting a mobile game and going, oh, let's just put it on the Switch like everybody seems to do right now. And you're like, this is clearly a mobile game. The type of people who enjoy mobile games are not the same type of people who enjoy Switch games. So, yeah.
But the Switch is just a tablet.
Or so they would say.
Oh, I love it. So, well, this is exciting. I'm really glad that you took the time to sit down and chat and talk about the publishing, to like even just kind of hear how you got into it, and I love that you're just continuing to move forward. That it's ever evolving. I mean, even looking at just the artwork behind you of Fly Johnny Fly, and just the art style, everything there, like it's growth. I mean, it's growth, and I'm really looking forward to not only playing Fly Johnny Fly and Drone Ridge, but other games that you're gonna have in the future. So again, thanks for taking the time, and please let people know where they might be able to connect with you.
Yeah, no worries. Best place is probably Twitter. Mattlekim at Twitter on Twitter at Wrigglersoft. My website is currently down, but that's not due to me. That's due to the company having issues and refusing to contact me. Oh, don't you love technology sometimes? So yes, I'm currently websiteless, which I'm hoping won't be for too much longer. So currently it is only Twitter. Normally I've got email and website and everything, but I'm having technical issues on that side.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I'll make sure I get the links to everything in the description and on our blog post. So once it's back working, people will have a way to connect. So, all right. Well, thanks again, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of the Beamable Game Dev Podcast. If you'd like to chat with other game devs, head on over to beamable.com/discord. And if you'd like to try Beamable for free, head on over to beamable.com.